And we are live, and good evening. Welcome to the Medium channel, where we bring you the spirituality behind the message. And if you're watching this as a video, we're going to start in a minute or two. So I like to let the live people, give them a moment to get their notifications and come on in. So as I'm doing that and waiting for that, was just glancing over the September forecast, and what was called for was a slow moving tropical storm or hurricane inundating the southeast with tremendous flooding. And of course, now we have Hurricane Ian, that's in Florida. It's going to move very, very slowly up into the southeast. And the thing that's a little bit troubling for me about that is that in that forecast, there's no mention really of like a terrible hurricane. I mean, that was like a category 4 to category 5 hurricane, extensive, terrible storm surge. Well, that's flooding also, I suppose. But I think that the rain is going to really be the big story in the flooding. Honestly, when this storm is all said and done, despite all the damage that's happening in the coast now. Also, I talked about a big storm in Alaska and a lot of snow in September, and they had their biggest storm in over 20 years there. Other things that came up were COVID restrictions being lifted, some restrictions being lifted, and that's happening. That's already happened. Increase in UFO activity, that's happened. New virus threat. I've heard of 3 new possible virus threats this month, one being another coronavirus. So, different than COVID, like a whole different virus. But anyway, and then another thing that came in, there were other stuff, but US and China getting more engaged in the war and stuff like that, more nuclear activity. So, anyhow, that was the September forecast. As always, time is fluid. Nothing's going to be 100% when it comes to psychic forecasting. But we've been able to pick up on some very specific events this year, including, well, I'm not going to cite any more examples, but we've come up with some very specific events, but also, some things, didn't pan out exactly as forecast, and that's just the nature of it. The idea is we want to, through the practice of divination, or psychic sensing, being able to pick up on possible outcomes, but understanding the time's fluid. So we have the power as a collective to change and modify a lot of this stuff. I'm just going to adjust my microphone just a tad. That way I don't have to talk as loud. Um, all right, so that's basically that. So as we come into the month, okay, I see people are starting to come in now. So hi, Laura and Kaylee and Angela and Teresa and MT and Sixes and everybody that's here. Gosh, I was going to say something else, but I forgot. Anyway, I guess that's not terribly important, but moving into the month of October, I'm going to talk a little bit about the astrology. Last night, I did some channeling, I did some automatic writing. The last hour or two, I've been transcribing those notes. So I have everything in notes now. So I'm going to be looking down a lot at my notes. Some astrology and numerology for sure, because that gives us a feeling of the flavor of the energy. So the astrology and numerology, the way the planets move, the way the numbers line up, is kind of a snapshot of the energy, and it gives us clues and it gives us some ideas of what to expect and how to handle things and how to handle those changes. But most of this just comes through spirit and channeling. So the astrology and the numerology. Firstly, October is a universal 7 month in numerology. The number 7 is guided by the planet Neptune. So Neptune is a very active player this month. Neptune is about illusions and delusions. It's also about psychism, intuition, spirituality. So that's going to be important, especially when you give in the fact of in this autumn season, at least in the northern hemisphere, the veils between the worlds thin. So mediumship, connecting with your loved ones and your guides, it's going to be easier and it's going to be stronger this month. So that's one thing. So I'm going back to my notes. And Neptune will be busy, and it's going to pretty much be at 27 degrees Aries all month. At the very end of the month, it slips into 28. Now, 27 is a 9. So that's Mars ruled numerology. Mars is slow and it's going to go retrograde later in the month. So that's important to know that Neptune and Mars are going to be actually, I believe, squaring pretty much all month. And that 27 degrees, the number 27 in numerology is liberation, I believe, in Chaldean numerology. But it comes at a price and it comes at a cost. So it does show that there's an energy of freedom in the air. And by the way, no doom and gloom here, no sugarcoating either. But the idea is to understand that we are empowered, and even if there are challenges that are forthcoming, the idea of these live streams and this community and sharing all this information to help you to get ready and prepared to create the best possible outcome given the parameters of the energies and the frequencies that are happening. So knowing these, again, the numerology and astrology gives us the clues. 27 is 9. That's Mars ruled numerology. Um, the full moon's happening on October the 9th. That's a universal 7-day in astrology. So again, we had that 7 Neptunian energy, and this is a 7 universal month. So these are important players. Now, the new moon is going to be a solar eclipse on the 25th of October. So we have a full moon before that. The full moon. Was I just talking about that? If not, 27 degrees Aries, October 9th. So that's the full moon. So the full moon is always a highlight of the month. And then the next new moon is going to be 2 degrees of Scorpio. 2 is lunar based, very psychic energy to finish up the month. So let me just glance over my notes here. I think I need a little help here. My 64-year-old eyes need a little help. Okay, I think I got the basics. Neptune squares Mars all month. What that basically means, it's going to enhance the spiritual vibe this month. That's a good thing. It's going to increase our intuition and our psychic abilities. Mars being the position that it's in right now. And where is Mars? Oh gosh. And anyways, the position that it's in, even though I didn't write it down, uh, Neptune's going to be squaring Mars. It's in Capricorn. That's right. Thank you. Just popped back in my mind. Anyways, and then it's going to get ready to go retrograde at the end of the month. So so that energy in Capricorn, like Mars is energy. Mars is like our warrior energy. Sometimes it's fights and battles, but it's basically energy and drive. So squaring Neptune is very soft and watery, and it's about illusions and delusions. So you can expect a lot of stuff to surface. It's been happening. I think it's going to continue to happen. And like I said, increase in UFO activities. That was forecasted for both August and September. There's been a lot on social media. Strange lights, a lot of stuff going on. Could this be a forerunner to some either exaggerated or fictitious threat from other worlds? We'll see about that. As we know, governments seek to centralize and seize power and disempower the people. So that agenda is happening, and that's clashing with that 27 degrees Aries, that freedom energy on the full moon, and other things that are going on in the month. So yeah, there's going to be more rising to the surface. So let me move on, because I've got about 8 or 9 or 10 different, some of these predictions are more for us as a community, others are more globally. The first thing that I wrote down is flickers of hope. And amidst the challenges, look for the hopeful signs, both locally and globally. So I think even if things seem like they're falling apart, things are getting worse, whenever we turn on the news or whatever, I think it's going to be up and down. I think there's going to be some elements of good and hopeful news and some elements of challenging news. Again, I think some more rules and restrictions are going to get overturned. Interesting, because what popped up in my mind is as Roe versus Wade. So I wonder if there's going to be more noise about that and other deeds and misdeeds of the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, and news on underground movements. So look for these flickers of hope that there are signs out there that show, even though things are moving into the very intense months of the earth changes and the awakening and the change of society, and things may seem like there's a lot of doom and gloom around, there's flickers of hope. So that's number one. Now, the second thing is, when I was doing the channel, I saw this image of an American flag lying in the grass. I don't know exactly what that means, but it's almost like the flag being taken down in a way. And then I was getting these images of, like, it looked like a military funeral. And it's possible that some high-ranking American official could pass on. There could be an assassination. So just a heads up, hopefully not. Whether it's the man supposedly on top or somebody close to there, I'm not really sure, but certainly I would keep an eye on those close to the president right now. Um, the other reason I could have seen that, if there's some weird activity around a national event like Columbus Day. So it's possible there could be some riots or things coming up around that. In general, with this Mars clashing energy and all that's going on, and the fact that things are so, it's almost like the society's like a bubbling pot waiting for the lid to blow, basically. Um, so basically, so that's number two. So what that means, well, I guess we'll find out, but I would keep an eye on that. All right, I'm just seeing if I. All right. So number three, I wrote prepare. Let's see. Did I? There's another. No, I didn't write that down. So let me touch on that. Well, that's part of prepare to prepare. Prepare and prepare. I think, the full October is going to be challenging and a lot's coming up, but also hopeful and positive. But I think the real show, as it were, is going to be November, December, January, maybe into February and March. There's astrology that validates that. You can check out Charita Star's autumn forecast that's on the channel. It'll be um, on the pinned comments. So I'll have a link for that for you guys on the pinned comments. But I think that this is the time for final preparations. Get your supplies just in case there's a prolonged period where there's not access to a lot of stuff. That's a possibility, definitely not written in stone, but something we've been talking about for a few years now, and it's certainly happening. Shelves are more empty than I've seen since 2020, when the first lockdowns happened. So anyway, prepare. And again, I think this is sort of a warm up, and the big show is happening more next month. So I think when I do the November psychic predictions, it'll be a little bit more eventful. So number four, I wrote down, make way for the new. Flickers of what a more spiritual society will look like start to surface and come through. So amidst all this thing about centralizing the economy, centralizing government, centralizing medicine, and all that kind of stuff, and with all this control, I do believe we're going to see some flickers of alternative societies, or very insightful or spiritual comments coming from unlikely sources and stuff like that. And again, that kind of sort of connects with point one also. So prepare now, and there's likely to be some large scale social, economic, and maybe personal changes in the months that follow. So for make way for the new, flickers of what a more feels. Okay, we just talked about that. Blessings and positive signs in this chaos. Moving right along to number five, a lot of energy. Water was shown. When I went into the channel, they're showing me a lot of water. Look for major floods. I mean, that's redundant. Every month for the last year and a half, there have been major floods around the world and in the US. Not likely to change anytime soon. It might be worse. One thing I was seeing was a big northeast storm almost getting stuck in northern New England, and bringing a lot of wind and cold weather with it, and rain and snow. So areas of the Catskills, and more likely into New England, especially northern New England and the Adirondack, there may be a significant snow in mid to later October. So it's something to be aware of. But in general, I feel like October, at least in my area, the Catskill Mountains, the Hudson Valley, is likely to trend on the mild side of average. But I do think there's going to be that's at least possibility of a significant cold snap, I want to say. Uh, so number six, I wrote Neptune in charge. We talked about that. a lot of people are going to have more brain fog than usual. So it's something to prepare for. And I think the idea is to do things to stay mentally sharp and focused this month. I think those Neptunian energies and all the programming from the news, from the media, and all that stuff, and all the attempts to again disempower us to try to seize power and control. It's really going to make a lot of people feel very ungrounded, very unsure of themselves, very easy to control. As a result. So look out for an increase in brain fog. So do things to keep your mind clear. Breathing exercises are very helpful. Good nutrition. And I think the other part of that with this Neptune in charge is that a lot of the things that have been buried, and they were talking about issues around children, maybe child trafficking and stuff like that. So we may hear a little bit of an uptick of news about that, and fingers pointing in different areas and stuff like that. The things that surface may be a whole different area of the news, but I think more truth is going to be boiling up to the surface, setting the stage for very, very interesting election day. I think there's going to be a lot of demonstration and uptick in violence, especially as we get near that Scorpio new moon late in the month, and all that. So you know, you know that. What else we write down? Keep you okay. Okay. Neptune charge. So psychic and mediumship energy increases. That happens every October, but with Neptune in charge, even more so this year. And they're saying the way to get through brain fog is to keep your eye on your ultimate goals. In other words, keep your eye on the ball at all times. um, in other words, like, what do I want to accomplish in my life? And keep that vision in your mind. So when things get a little bit foggy or go awry or whatever, you have that vision to keep you grounded and keep you locked in your purpose and intention. So that was another thing. And that'll help through brain fog and other challenges. So a little fun one came up, and they were showing about some kind of a new romance involving Donald Trump. I mean, I thought he was married, right? Wait a second. That hasn't stopped him in the past. Never mind. No judgment. No judgment. um, but around Trump, that's another prediction I got for September. When I asked about Trump, they just said he's going to continue to play rope a dope. Yeah, which is an expression out of the Muhammad Ali era, where he just kind of sort of danced around and absorbed the punches and avoid the punches to tire the opponent out. So I think he's hoping to wear down the other side. But in any event, they're saying, making a lot of noise, but little gets done. Lots of pre-election drama. Do we need to be psychic to know that? No, we do not. So number 8 was need more R&R. So they're saying you're going to need more rest this month because, again, there's a lot of disparate energies that are affecting you. There's a lot of growth, a lot of awakening that's happening. Yeah, your frequencies are going to at times run very high, and in between, you may need more rest. So make sure you take good care of yourself as the frequencies continue to increase. And nurture, more self-care. Number 9, I wrote down more ET news, more moving off grids, more UFOs. So all that process is likely to continue. Hear more about artificial intelligence, more about transhumanism, more about what are the alternatives, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's going to be a heavy duty month for this kind of news, but I think it's still going to be there. I think more into the end, and especially in the next year, there's going to feel like more pressure. But I think right now is the time we have to decide which direction we're going to go as society splits. Are we going to go in the more sovereign and spiritual direction where we really want to develop as humans, or are we going to go into the technology aspect of things? No judgment either way. We all have whatever we have, but just remember, anything that's technology is man-made and therefore subject to flaws. So you may want to think long and hard before you get interface with any technology. And the number 10, they were saying it's very important this month to clear up any old difficulties that you have with loved ones and family members. So anything that's been swept under the rug is likely to grow up and turn into a monster, basically, uh, and undermine your relationships and your connection. I think the initiation process will continue. Like, in other words, losing old friends and as you're evolving, leaving other people behind, or they're evolving in a different area, growing in a different area, while you start to gravitate towards maybe new friends or new activities or stuff like that. So those are the basic predictions. Like I said, some are more global, some are more local with us. And they also showed me, a couple of practices to pass on to you guys before we shut down for the evening. Um, and one is it's a big heart month. Neptune, Venus is very much in play also. Um, we talk a lot about heart brain coherence. That's a practice that it's made popular by the Heart Math Institute and Greg Braden, and then Joe Dispenza and other teachers got on board with it. The idea is, the recommendation is for 10 minutes, 3 times a day, to just sit, relax, clear your mind, and just hold, magnify gratitude, appreciation, compassion in the heart. And what I do, I call it magnified heart brain coherence, is I really feel that heart energy spreading in my body and joining with my brain and overtaking my brain, because that's what happened when you bring your heart into coherence through gratitude, appreciation, compassion. That's what hearts want to do. They want to feel love and compassion. So once your heart gets coherent, um, it's incoherent when there's a lot of fear, a lot of stress, and you've lost the ability to feel, which most people have in this society, unfortunately. So when that happens, the brain comes into coherence also. So do whatever it is. I mean, you may have other heart expansion practices, but work with the frequencies of the heart. It's always important. It feels extra important this month. So that's number one. So number two is energies can stagnate around the body. So do your energy clearings this month. Um, on Thursday, we're uploading a video about cording, like etheric cords and how to deal with them. A couple of people suggested that. I think Doreen was one of them, and somebody else did. So I listened to your suggestions. If you have any video suggestions, comment them, and and I may actually do it. So I listened to this. I listened to you guys. so so the energies can really stagnate in and around the body. So, good breath work and feel the flow. The flow is just energy. When we stop our minds and we tune in, we can start to feel movement of energy through our bodies. Once we can feel it, we can connect with it. And once we connect with it with our minds and intention, we can influence those flows. So the idea is to really learn to feel the flow. And that happens when you're present and meditating. And you might even get a stronger feeling of that when you go out into nature. So always, every month, go into nature as much as you can. Technology, the electromagnetic frequencies tends to tear down your energy fields. But if you go into nature, the trees, the wind, all the stuff in nature restores your energy field. So it's about balance. We're in Libra season. So another very important aspect of this in all Octobers is finding the right balance for yourself. Um, so number three was develop your channeling or mediumship or psychic abilities. The universe is assisting you. So do your exercises, set your intention, do your meditations for that. And the fourth one, and to me, this is really important, um, to me, is to get your spiritual routine set, as you will need that as an anchor to survive and thrive, not just survive, but thrive during these changes. Again, I think October is a big warm up month. I think November, December, January, maybe into February and March is when a lot of change and a lot of challenge, but growth is going to happen. Challenge is the lion's share of how we grow as human beings. And stuff. So that's basically that. I think we got that. So again, we'll this Thursday. I think next Thursday I'm going to do I haven't shot it yet, but a video on how to do heart brain coherence for healing, for self healing. This is a good self healing time also. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Hang in there, stay connected with community, with one another. And people that are coming late, as soon as I'm done, this uploads as a video, and after 12 hours, it uploads as an HD video. So you'll have access to this on the channel. All right, I love you. Thank you, everybody, and see you next time. Namaste.